Hello everybody, as you can see it's just me again today. Welcome to the Datamine. Unfortunately we haven't got Danny or Josie this week again. Josie's still a little bit ill. I believe she is going to be back next week. Same with Danny. Danny's back from holiday. And we should hopefully have a guest as well next week. So the last few weeks has been a bit difficult, summer and everything, everyone going on holiday, etc, etc. The same goes on in real life, unfortunately. Hello to everybody. Hi Mythalo, hi Adverto, hi Richard, which is TSAG in there. Today we're going to talk about, hopefully everyone can hear me this week. Let me know if you can, or you can, obviously. Today we're going to talk about my game, basically. We have got lots and lots of topics to talk about, but we just thought that maybe an end-to-end process for a beginner indie dev is a good thing to go through, especially considering I know obviously a lot about our processes. Just remembered, I've actually got one other apology to make as well. I bought an air conditioner from last week because I was dying, basically. It was very hot, melting. If it's too loud, please let me know. I'll turn it off and I'll suffer, but as I said, it gets really warm in this room, so that's why I've got it on. So yes, apologies out the way, and essentially we are going to go through a number of steps that I took to get our game off the mark. It's a bit of a difficult situation to be in, indie dev sometimes. There's lots of different takes to it. There's lots of different people doing different things. The main focus at the very beginning is always quite wrong, I think, if you don't really have any experience. Like I didn't when I started. I'd not worked in the game dev industry. I'd not spoken to anybody in the game dev industry. I'd literally kind of threw myself into it, read a few articles online, figured out kind of what to start off with, but then kind of got into a flow, and that's the main thing, I think. Being able to understand the entire process from start to finish is important for anyone, especially if you're leading a team, because you have to be sympathetic towards your designers and your artists, etc. That's if you've got a team. Danny did most of the work himself, for example, on his game. Many Twitter game devs out there, they do all the work themselves, and it's brilliant if you can do that. Go for it. Personally, I am not very artistic, so I had to look for artists. I think I've mentioned that a few times before, and it's kind of getting into a flow with your own stuff as well. I tend to spend a lot of time writing code and then getting kind of distracted by other people needing things from me. And when I say distracted, I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that it takes me away from thinking about code. If, for example, I'm working on, for example, the last few weeks I've been working on AI, there's not much code involved in AI, it's all logic. So I got away from it. I'm getting back into code at the moment, and it's kind of getting your head back into that state. As a programmer, if anyone else is a programmer, you'll understand that, Obviously, if you guys have got anything to say on any of this, please let me know. I'm more than willing to answer any questions about the project or what we're doing with it. I'll take you into it to start off with, for those who haven't seen it before. Subnet is a stealth hacking and parkour first-person game. I've got lots of content up on YouTube. I tend to release devlogs. At the moment, it's about once a month, but it's as often as I can. And I update our devlog with videos and text and images and concept art. I haven't released absolutely everything to the public, but it's another skill, I suppose, knowing what to release and knowing what to keep to yourself, and a release schedule as well. Our situation is that we're hobbyists that are taking it very seriously. There are people who rely on it for income. There are people that rely on it for experience. Most of the people in our team want experience, so that's where we're coming from. Essentially, we've got a number of artists who've we've got a couple of artists who all have different ideas about what game dev is and what we are trying to achieve, and it's trying to get everyone on the same page is one of the main challenges to start off with. Anyway, I feel like I'm digressing a little bit this week. Thanks for everyone who supported me last week in my ramblings. I am going to go through my notes. I'll just quickly read Adverto's comment first. You're referring to the zone, i.e., where you continuously program uninterrupted for a few hours. You kind of get more efficient the longer you're at it. Totally, 100%. When you're a developer, one of the things I ranted about last week was the meetings in professional game dev, and it tends to be that if you don't have a few hours at least, I mean, I prefer having 7 or 8 hours of programming, constant coding, and I get loads done when I'm left alone to it, when I've got no distractions, when there's no noise outside, when it's not too hot, hence the aircon unit. The loudness of the unit is okay, I can deal with it in terms of concentration. I've noticed over the last few days I've not been able to concentrate because it's been too hot, and I've just been getting up and moving and around every 5 minutes. The zone is very important when you're doing any kind of thing. I imagine artists are the same. You have to get into that frame set before you can actually produce something that's worthwhile. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to start off with how we started. It was a bit of a mess, I'll be honest, when we started. I started with a friend, and he was very accommodating in terms of he gave me lots and lots of information to start with. He had done a bit of game dev himself. It wasn't with Unity, it wasn't with an engine per se. It was more of a web game that he used a bit of Flash, a bit of JavaScript, a bit of back-end JavaScript and Node.js and things like that to actually get a client server together for the game, because it was supposed to be multiplayer. Anyway, he has historically been into the R&D of game dev. He's been interested in how people do things, so he offloaded a lot of that information to me. He explained all kinds of things to me, like the parkour stuff that I've spoken about on this show before. He got me started on that. He explained how shaders work in a very basic way. He helped me how to get my head around level of detail. He helped me get my head around occlusion culling and why it's needed and what kind of things. And the more that I've got into it, the more I've learned. And there's so much to learn in game dev. It's very important to try and stay focused on it. So hopefully, even if you don't get anything, I mean, I'm not here to necessarily promote my game today. I'm more here to tell you how I did it and what mistakes I made at the very start. The first thing was all of the ideas under the sun. That was the main problem. We had every idea. We had a document that contained loads and loads of mechanics and ideas, and it was basically, the game was initially supposed to be an open world, free roaming kind of adventure hacking game type thing with lots of parkour options, etc. The more you look into it, the more you design it, the more you realise that these things are more difficult. The larger your world is, the more artists you need, the more resource you need, the more people need to be involved in all kinds of design processes. And I'm talking about everything from level design to your character design, to your concept art, I mean, we're at the stage now where we've got a decent team together. When I first got all the original concept art together, it was basically just me coming up with the ideas. I said my original partner, he left, unfortunately. He couldn't commit to this and other commitments, so it was me left to look for other people. The number one piece of advice I can give to any indie dev starting a new project is to get something down on paper. Personally, for me, that works. It may not work for everybody. Whether it's a scribble in a pad, I mean, I've got pads full of scribbles and level design and all kinds of stuff, or it's to me, it was writing things out in a document and then sharing it with various people to kind of get feedback from it. And don't just share it with people who are going to say, yes, that sounds awesome. Share it with people who are going to be critical about it and who can tell you that that's going to take a lot of work. I mean, the open world mechanic we had originally was every single NPC in the world, and it was going to be a city full of people. Every NPC in the world had its own profile and did its own thing and had its own AI and travelled to and from work, and you could follow them and stake out the house and get information from them and hack into their, break into the house and hack into the computers, get information, then use that information to get into buildings. That mechanic in itself, it sounds great, it sounds amazing, it sounds like loads of freedom, but the amount of work involved in it it's unbelievable. It's got a lot of it's got not just design work involved, but it's got a lot of coding and a lot of mechanics involved in it. Yeah, so the number one thing is to get down a number of documents, even if it's just to start off with. It's a game design document or something like a one-page document that tells you exactly how the game's going to play out. If it's got a story, make sure you write the story as a synopsis. And when I'm talking about synopsis, I'm talking about in prose. So you would write, even if you did it matter of fact, you know, when you said Jeff went here, then Jeff goes to do this. This happens. I actually followed like a movie script type template to get it to a point where it was understandable by other people, and it actually had key moments in the script. Initially I didn't. Initially I started off writing a full script, as in written out dialogue, and it's not the way to go. It's definitely not the way to go, because so many things change. If you write an entire script at the very start, when you have a design meeting and you go, right, we can't do this mechanic, so a lot of the script doesn't make sense. If you've written a synopsis, at least you've only got a paragraph or a couple of paragraphs to modify and change, rather than pages and pages and pages of documents. It's overkill for the very beginning. We haven't even got a script yet, for example. I mean, we're considering having a script writer at some point in the future, or you know, there's so many options with it. It's important to keep focus. Anyway, what I was going to do at this point was I was going to quickly show you our Google Drive. I'm not going to go through every document because a lot of them aren't relevant, but I'll briefly speak through each one, and each one and I'll give you a quick rundown. I'm not going to open them because obviously this is recorded, and there's some privileged information in some of these documents, but I'll explain what each one is. So the first one, background, history, setting and timeline, is exactly what it says in the tin. In fact, all of them are exactly what they say on the tin. But the background and history, that contains the lore of the world. Our game is set 200 years in the future, so I've had to basically cater for 200 years of what happened from now until then. And I've written it out as a timeline, as in prose again. I've written it out as almost as a story to explain. This is the most valuable thing that I've done, because it allows me to provide this document to concept artists, to artists, and say, read that, engross yourself in it. This is what the world is now in terms of the game. This is how things have evolved. And it's been really, really handy for us. Again, not every game is going to need as much detail as maybe ours does. If you're writing a side scroller or something, you don't need a background and history. Maybe, I mean, if you think of something like Mirror's Edge, if you did a 2D side-scroller platformer or something like a parkour game, you don't really need a detail. But in Mirror's Edge, there's lots of history in there as well, you know. And if you decided to do a 2D version of it, there would be. Is it important at that point? Do you need it for the design? Of course you do, because I'm talking myself out of it there. It's quite a detailed process, really. I'm just going to have a read of comments. There's a few people in the chat. Hello, Marshmallow. And your mighty Banhammer, I've heard. I haven't seen it in action yet, but I'm sure you'll jump on it today. Okay, sorry, it's just Mythalo. My Mythalo saying, sounds like it used to be quite similar to Watch Dogs. Again, when I first designed the game, I didn't even know Watch Dogs existed. Obviously, it had been announced, I believe, but when I first started, I wasn't a game dev, and I wasn't into the game development community. I didn't really care. I just wanted the titles, you know. And I don't really. I'm one of these people who doesn't really spoil things for myself. I try to avoid trailers and avoid previews. And if there's a review and it's a game that I'm not sure about, I might read it. But I'm still I keep myself away from it until the game's there, because it's always different, isn't it? You know. But yeah, so it's kind of. It is similar to Watch Dogs now, but again, I don't know, I think there's a lot of stuff in Watch Dogs that's it's quite different. A hacking system. I'm actually going to take you through some of the game just to show you where we're up to now, and the hacking system is considerably different, a lot more complicated, and hopefully, fingers crossed, will be more fun and more realistic than the one in Watch Dogs. Even though I haven't played it, I've been told that it's not great. You know, it's either a one-button hack or it's it's like a pipe dreams type game to get you into servers or something like that. Again, I don't know. I haven't seen it in too much detail. Anyway, the second document on here, the executive overview. This is something that that's my game design document essentially. That covers the main principal points of the game. So I've got the synopsis in there, which is about a page worth of this is how it starts, this is how it develops, this is how it ends, you know. And as I said, I followed a movie script like plot for it because I wanted some structure to it, and I was getting a bit lost when I was trying to do it on my own. So I thought I wrote these documents initially. The storyboard script has got nothing in it at the moment. I mean, I think it's got the old script in it, which needs completely rewriting, so it's not really relevant. But that allows me to then get into the characters, get into the detail of the world, and how, you know, it's mainly the establishing character, lots of dialogue. And the other things in the executive overview, we've got an overview. This is a document that you would give to an executive. That's why it's called an executive overview. You'd give it to a manager, or you'd give it to a publisher, or something to that effect if you wanted to go down that route. And it is a synopsis of the game, and it tells you the mechanics, the base mechanics, like what's going to happen in the game. There are collectibles, for example. There's a parkour system that's quite elaborate. There's a hacking system, and this is basically how it works. It's a high-level overview. On top of that, as well, you can go into as much detail as you want, but I think my document's about maybe six pages, maybe. Might not even be that long, in fact. Background and history is about 4 or 5 pages. The executive overview, maybe even 4 or 5 pages, I don't know. The storyboard script we went over. The main character bios, I decided to separate out just basically a tabular list of all the characters in the game, and things like eye colour, their attitude, their job title, the salary, things like, you know, it's stuff that's maybe not so important, you might never mention in the story, but as you're thinking and as you're getting yourself into the story of the game that you're writing, or the background, or anything like that, you're making notes mentally about what these characters are, and it helps artists when they come around to design them. It helps them infinitely. This is how tall they should be, this is their attitude, this is the way, kind of roughly how they dress, are they scruffy, are they clean, you know, have they got what kind of attitude have they got, what kind of personality have they got, everything about the characters, basically. So that's just a list of tables containing all of the characters that I've written into the story. Again, that needs updating now on our side, but it's not important right now for us, so I'm leaving it as it is. The game mechanics goes into a lot of detail about how all the mechanics are going to work. Again, it allows me to flesh out things like how the upgrade system works in the game, how the experience system works, how the parkour is going to work, what kind of, you know, how we're going to link in the animations to the parkour, things like that. Just, it's quite high level, but it still allows us to refer back to it and go, right, I kind of lost myself with what I'm doing here. I've been programming for 3 days. What's the aim of this? And then there's all these new ideas that come in, and you have to be careful of scope creep. I think someone mentioned that earlier, actually. Someone mentioned scope creep earlier, I'm sure they did. Oh, there we go, Mytholaw again. Scope is a problem for any creative project, but it seems very prevalent in games, and it is. We've just been having a design process. Last week we had me and my character designer had a little Skype meeting, and it was, we've come up with 4 or 5 new mechanics in the game, but I'm having to be very careful about what I say yes and no to, at the same time as not wanting to hurt someone's feelings and say, no, I'm in charge, or no, that's a bad idea, because none of them are bad ideas. All ideas are relevant, and luckily I love it. I mean, I love it when people get involved in it, in the design process, and like, this is a great idea to put in there. But the problem is, as the project lead, I have to say no to a lot of things, and I have to kind of, I suppose it is stifle. It's not. I'm trying not to stifle the creativity, but at the same time, I really want them to invest in it. So it's a bit of a difficult situation to be in, having to say no. Luckily, the most of the ideas that have came out of that meeting are going to get implemented, and they're not too difficult, and I think they will enhance the game a lot. There are mainly things like tools that he's going to use for hacking, because we're not having guns in the game, which is one of the main the main things. We're going to replace guns with cool tools and ideas, cool things that he can do to enhance his hacking or enhance his stealth or maybe even his parkour. We're talking about things like grappling hooks and all kinds of stuff, but it's one of those things that, is it going to get into the game? Not sure yet. We'll reveal more as it comes along. The hacking design document, because the hacking is such an elaborate system. Excuse me. Because the hacking is such an elaborate system, it has required a separate document that is completely self-contained and away from everything else, because everything in the game is linked to everything else. You can hack a terminal and then you might be able to hack servers upstairs in like 3 floors above, but it will be very difficult for you to do that hack without the right tools or the right experience. There's a lot more to it than that. There's probability calculations. I've just actually implemented Dijkstra's algorithm for it's a pathfinding algorithm which is normally used for AI pathfinding, but I found it really useful, and it's exactly what I thought of in the initial design documents of how the hacking is going to work. If you hack a device and then you hack another device and another device from it, each device has its own security rating. So as you get further away from the source device that you are actually physically hacking, it gets more difficult, so that the security ratings add up, and that's I was totally unaware of this, but it's a weighted graph of sorts. It's nice to know that I'm thinking and trying to solve puzzles that have already been solved, if you know what I mean. It's not that. It's nice to know that when I do the relevant Google search for things, if I look for long enough, I find answers to the questions like this Dijkstra's algorithm. It's a pathfinding algorithm which finds the cheapest route to through a graph. It's really quite interesting, actually. If you're interested in that kind of thing, Dijkstra is spelt Dijkstra, and it's from the 1950s, I think, the algorithm. But there's A-star pathfinding as well, and there's a number of other pathfinding algorithms. A-star is the one that's used most in game dev. However, for my particular use, the Dijkstra's is a lot more. It's a lot friendlier because it allows me. Well, it's a bit heavier on the processor, but it's a lot more appropriate for my uses, and that's all I'm going to say for now. This organisation chart. This is actually something that I did, and all it is a little organisation chart that tells us how all of the companies in the game, or how the main companies in the game, all sit together. And again, it's a really good thing to look at, remind myself that, okay, so this company is below this company is controlled by, because there's a lot of elaborate conspiracy theories and things like that in the story. So I'm making it sound a lot more interesting than it probably will be. I hope it's great for everybody else. It's there's a lot more. There's a lot of stuff gone into it. A lot of design process. Again, not every game's going to need this. I mean, TSAG in the chat channel. I've been recently helping him with a little tanks game, and he's done it. And I'm really proud of the guy. I'm really proud that he's got. He's from no development experience whatsoever, including no programming experience. He's developed a game in Unity and built it in a few days, and I was really chuffed with that. And it's really nice to see that. That doesn't need much design. You can come up with the idea in your head and get it out quickly. Even if you want to enhance it and make it look nicer and put sounds on it and do all the elaborate stuff, you still don't really need much design in terms of writing all these documents. This is because this is a quite ambitious project. I'm just gonna have a look at the chat again, guys, just to see what else has been going on. Yes, Adverto, that link that Adverto's just posted. Yes, it is broken at the moment, but yes. So we, in terms of the game we're talking about, Roadrunner. It's my game, Subnet. Subnet is a first-person hacking, stealth, and parkour game. I'm actually not far off going into a little bit of the showing you how the game is sat together at the moment. Still in development, looks very ugly. We're in the process of getting art into the game. There's a long line yet, and even the demo is quite ambitious for what we want. But it's one of those things, The prop design document, again, that goes into details about the things like ammo, if there's any ammo in the game. Things like, I mean, we've got some stairs in the game that are kind of futuristic hologram stairs. There's everything that needs a little bit more explanation. I mean, that document probably doesn't need to be there anymore for us personally, because we're working things out as they come in. When it comes to things like the UI and inventory design, again, lots of drawings. There's lots of drawings pasted in that document. There is trying to explain ideas about how the UI works. In our game specifically, most of the UI goes on in like a computer in your head. So trying to make that not realistic's the word, trying to make it kind of obvious to the player what it is that you're doing. It's like, instead of just throwing up a UI, we have to design it in such a way that it feels integrated into you or something. Yeah, it's hard to explain, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get it across when we get the designs put together. The modelling guidelines is just a spreadsheet with a load of information in it for the modelers, like heights and door heights, and because of the parkour stuff, we have to design things to a specific, to specifications. Again, that isn't that relevant anymore, because I'm now doing all of the level design myself. I'm doing the initial design, the initial blocking out, and then giving it to the artists in order for them to do the nice, elaborate work. You know, make it look nicer as a mesh. Make it improve the tech. Well, actually add some textures on there and play around shaders and materials, etc. And this synopsis ideas document is the very initial document that I referred to at the beginning of this stream, and that's just got all of the ideas that we ever had in, and it's ridiculous. I'm not going to open it because there's some ideas in there that I may use in the future for other games. We had some great ideas, but it's getting them all into one game is, I wouldn't say impossible. Nothing's impossible, but it'd take us years to get all of them implemented. So yeah, that's how I initially started. After that, we were starting to look at things like the AI behavior. I haven't got a document for that, but I started putting that together. You got to think about all this and plan it all out in terms of at least know what you're going to do for the next week. You know, I mean, we're not the most organised of studios. We don't have a project manager. I'm doing the vast majority of the work, and then the artists are doing all of the artwork, and there's not many artists. Same goes for animator. We've hopefully got an animator coming on the team at some point. Yeah, and it's one of those things that it's best to be organised at the beginning, and writing things down really helps for when you're referring back. You imagine not writing something down, coming up with all these great ideas, and then in 3 months' time, when you're like, right, I've finished the parkour stuff, you know, which is exactly the situation I've been in. Finished the parkour stuff, it's working, it's good enough for now. What next? Right, I need to look at the, I don't know, look at the hacking system. What did I say about the hacking system? I had a specific probability calculation that I wanted to, and I haven't written it down, and I've forgotten. And it's again, you have to restart, even though you have to refresh yourself. It's not the same, you know. It's it just takes a while for you to get to to remind yourself of where you were. So the next stage, after writing everything down, doing a bit of recruiting, starting to get involved in the community, and all, you know, getting on Twitter and trying to get a few followers, etc. What I then did is went off and did a bit of prototyping. I actually did a bit of prototyping before I even started designing, I'll be honest, because I was more interested in the code side then. I didn't really know that there was so much work involved. So we did the prototyping. We started prototyping a day-night cycle, which I've got, and it works nicely. It's a bit rough around the edges, but it does the job. And that was and it's got a whole, it's got a day-night cycle. It's got summer and winter solstices, so the sun and the moon move up and down in the sky. Obviously, we've got blended skyboxes coming in and out. We've got blended ambient light, and lots of stuff is blended basically as the day blends in and out. It's quite nice. I quite like it, and it's completely configurable. However, after spending a few months or a month writing that, I'm now not using it because it's irrelevant to the game that we're playing now. Because there's no day-night cycle, unfortunately, because it's not a persistent world, it's not relevant. So I've wasted a bit of time there, but at the same time, I learned a hell of a lot when I was doing that prototyping. I also started doing some prototyping on the FPS stuff. We went for an asset for the FPS stuff because we are not using guns. We're not using all of it, but we used UFPS, which is Ultimate FPS. I keep talking about it. It's a very, very good, nicely written piece of code. It's got a great design pattern in there called the Observer pattern, and the Observer pattern allows you to subscribe to subscribe different classes to particular events on the subscribers subscribe to the Observer, and essentially it allows you to say, right, when this state is initiated, execute all of these bits of code on all these different scripts. It allows you to keep your stuff nicely separated. It allows you to quite quickly get a new state out there. We've got states in UFPS for all kinds of things now, for things like ledge grabbing, power sliding, jumping, obviously, running, parkour mode. Everything that the character does has a state. Even when he goes out of breath, there's an out of breath state that you start wobbling around. It's really nice to handle it that way. UFPS takes a lot of the camera stuff away from us. We don't have to worry about a purling noise function for wobbling the camera. We don't have to worry about camera bob, footstep noises, things like that. They're in there. There's an input manager, all kinds of stuff. It's a great little bit of kit. Excuse me, a great bit of kit, and it's very, very cheap. Get on it. Ultimate FPS. However, FPS games are not simple either. That's one thing to say. If you're starting out, go for something a little bit simpler, I think. I wish I'd started out with a smaller game. Could have kind of got to the end first, but now I'm committed to this, and I want to get it finished. You know, I want to. There's a lot of work ahead of us. There's years of work ahead of us, but it's still a good. I'm still learning all the time, and I'm always, picking new things up. So after we did the FPS, I did a bit of networking. Networking in terms of the prototyping networking for the game. So I got a few computers talking to each other. I got a relay system working, which I'll show you in a minute. And we got basic communications and hopping around the network and being able to hack and things like that working. There's a lot of work to do on that, a lot of polish to put on the top, but fundamentally underneath, it's all linked together nicely. Obviously, at the moment, I'm doing some AI prototyping. Have talked briefly about Rain AI. My experience with it so far has been okay, not 100% positive. It's a great bit of kit and it's free, so I can't really complain about it. The support system's okay. I've spoken to one or two of the guys there, but I haven't really got anything back from them. I'm a bit confused as to why some things are happening in it. It could be my understanding, it could be a bug in the engine, and I don't really know what's going on, so I'm waiting for them guys. It's one of those things that if I don't get any feedback soon, I'm probably going to move on to something else AI wise, and maybe look at doing maybe reassess the AI. Maybe I don't know. It's very complex AI. It's a whole subject in itself, as we've had a discussion before on it. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of prototyping to do. I'm prototyping all the time, even now, even though we're going with things. I've also written things like a save system, so it persistently serializes and deserializes things to and from disk, encrypts them to disk, so people can't just reopen and read a save file, etc. I imagine those files will start to get huge at some point, but they're quite small at the moment. We've got an inventory system, which is a weighted inventory system, very much like Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls of Oblivion's was. So you can hold a certain amount of some things, but you've only got a certain amount of weight that you can carry in your backpack. I don't know what I'm doing with that, like in terms of what happens when you exceed your limit or anything. It's not going to be you are encumbered and you can't move. It's ridiculous. It'll be just you can't pick up anything else, probably. And then on top of that as well, while I'm doing all of this work, while I've been doing the prototyping and design process and networking online, speaking to people, raising our profile, I've also been doing recruitment and working out collaboration between two people, which I talked about last week briefly. Again, if you guys have got any questions about anything so far, then that's cool. I'm actually just about to start looking at the game. I'm gonna bring up the Unity project. In fact, I'll do that right now, and I probably won't go into any code or anything like that. But what I'm gonna do is open up the scene that's a bit more interesting than that one. That's the hacking development scene. I've got a number of scenes, as you see here. We've got AI, office, hacking and parkour, and they all just allow me to test externally from this main scene. Now this scene, any of you that do follow us on Twitter or anything like that, you'll have seen it before. It's quite a big scene. This is a demo. We've got concept art for this kind of view at the moment that we're working on, but we've got a long way to go. Literally the only art we've got in the game so far is in this room here, and we're not making like tremendous headway with it. We're plodding along and getting things in there as we can. So yeah, there's the whole game to set up like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly take you through, just take you through the level, show you a few of the features of the game. Hopefully I can demonstrate them all without things blowing up on me, because as I said, this is a work in progress. It is development. Oh, we've got full screen as well. Right, so at the moment we've got 3 main mechanics in the game. We've got the hacking, parkour and stealth. The stealth is partially implemented. I'm working on that all the time, but because there's no AI, there's very few AI, it's quite important to get the AI out the way first and then move on to no, hang on, that was wrong. Yeah, sorry, get the AI sorted and then move on to the stealth. Sorry, I just noticed a comment. This game is Subnet. It's a hacking, parkour and stealth game. It's in development, been in development for about a year, and it will... There's no release date yet, but it will come out at some point when we have everything in there. We're actually working on this level as a demo to kind of get out there and get a bit of feedback from people, make sure it's fun before we go any further. We've already spent a long time on it, to be honest. So first of all, obviously you won't be able to get into this building. You won't be able to get into this building without certain passcodes, etc. The start of the level is not in this room. The start of the level is miles away. This is just because we're in the middle of prototyping. There's a number of mechanics, as you can see in the bottom left. We have health. We've also got adrenaline, and we've got controls. Now if I just hold down end, you'll see there's a list of how to move. There's a lot of parkour stuff in there. You can wall run, you can wall jump, you can power slide underneath things, you can crouch and prone. Obviously there's an attack mode. You can pick things up and throw them. You can we have gun support in the game, but there's not going to be any guns in the game. You can zoom. There's a million things. There's also a developer console that I spent a while implementing. The amount of work that goes into a game is, if you're a gamer, and I say this from first-hand experience, as a gamer I didn't understand and appreciate how much work goes into games. There is tons, and especially with a small team, it's a very difficult thing to achieve, to stay motivated for the entire amount of time that you need to develop. But it is rewarding at the same time. Personally, I find it more rewarding than anything else I've done. Right, so there's lots of work gone into lots of different things, so I'll try and explain things. First of all, you can hear footsteps. These are courtesy of our sound designer and composer Ryan. And it's different when we go onto concrete, only slightly. And it's different again when we walk on this surface. There's a lot of... you see one of the cameras just saw me then. There's a bit of a bug with the camera at the moment, so it only beeps once. It should keep going, the alarm. So essentially, say for example the puzzle is, let's get into this room. You might want to hack a terminal in a maintenance room somewhere and disable that camera, or you might want to turn that camera on to rotate it around so it's not facing the way it's facing, or something like that. Or you might want to just disable its detection or something like that. Yes, this game does take a bit of influence from Deus Ex, in quite a lot of influence from Deus Ex. It's considerably different in terms of the hacking. The hacking is a lot more elaborate, which I'll show you in a minute. And on top of that, the parkour obviously doesn't exist in Deus Ex. There's kind of an augmentation system in this game. It's not the same. It's not physical augmentations. You can upgrade an implant that's in your head. And this implant is called ESOS, which is Enhanced Social Operating System, and an ESOS is it's kind of a government-funded implant that's implanted into everybody in the world. There's a whole history around that I'm going to leave. You guys can hopefully get into it if you decide to get the game when it comes out. The hacking system I will now show you. And I said this is not complete. There's a lot of work to do on it at the moment, and I don't think half of these are actually connected to each other at the moment. But so when we hack, we then go into another interface, and this interface, this is a very work in progress. It's hopefully not going to look anything like this when we actually get the game out there. What we've got is a name, which is Development Terminal 02, so that's a nice friendly name for it. We've got the state that it's currently in. That's probably going to be represented in another way, maybe colours or an icon or something like that, I don't know. And then it's got the security level as well of this particular device. Now this security level determines how high a hacking skill you need in order to access it. I don't have a hacking skill at all at the moment. I'm just going to give myself 100 hacking skill. In fact, this is a level 5 terminal, so let's give myself a level 49 hacking skill. Now at the moment it's all menu based. I can't hack it because I don't have enough skill. There's a bit of a problem with the calculation at the moment as well, but if I change this to 100 and do it again, we're now at 200%. There's a bit of a bug there, but I will sort it out at some point. Once we hack a device, so we've hacked this computer, we now have options on the computer to turn it off, turn it on. There will be other ones for accessing information on terminals. There's going to be another overlay, a UI of sort for a screen that allows you to see what's going on the computer, etc. This terminal doesn't actually happen to have any access to anything else, so I can't show you what I was going to show you. However, I can show you that it changes colour and state when you hack it. Let me just see if this one's going to work. No, that doesn't have one either. I imagine that none of these are set up to connect to each other. No, they're not. Right. In order to show you the hacking system, I'm going to have to go into the hacking AI. Hacking scene, sorry. Come on. There we go. So this is a scene that I'm just prototyping in. There's nothing else to it. You'll see there's a camera over there. There's a camera over there. A number of doors that all open in different ways. An alarm and a couple of terminals. There's also a load of pickups and stuff over here that I'm just playing around with. So these are the kind of places that us developers spend our time running around in and prototyping, essentially. Right, so now this terminal's off at the moment. There's a lot of work to do in the aesthetics of it. It'll look different from that. We've also got a firewall here as well, which is actually sat between these two terminals. That firewall is just to enhance the security rating of that particular device, and you can see it when you're in cyberspace. So if we go into here, you can immediately see there's a lot more devices around. I'm going to have to give myself hacking again. There are a lot of different attributes in the game. Things like stealth and charisma, and again, a lot of these may not be used in the actual final version. 333%. So now what happens when you've hacked a terminal, you get access to, it controls this control panel, controls that door, controls the firewall, another control panel, and there's one down here which is an alarm. So let's say, for example, I want to notice that was a level 3 device as well. This here is a level 5 device. Now if I navigate to it, this is the work that I've done with that Dijkstra's algorithm. I can now right-click on it. It updates it to 8 because that was 5 plus 3. 3 there. And it's just this particular path that it takes. So if I hack it, it's a lot less percentage, as you can see, because it's level 8. I now have access to an airlock door over here. Now this is level 5. Well, when I right-click, we'll update how that works. You know, it's just very primitive at the moment. It's level 13. Now I can't hack that because I've only got 100 hacking skill. So what I unfortunately need to do, because of the bug, is give myself 130 hacking skill at the very minimum. Now that should now give me 100%. If I gave myself 131, it give me 177, 100.77. So I can now hack that. And that now means that I can open it, close it, configure some rules on it. There are rules on the door that set alarms off, or maybe open other doors, or close doors, or enable, disable cameras. All kinds of stuff. These rules are very configurable. So if we do an open, come out, we'll see the airlock door open. I'll get through it. And there's now a relay system set up. That now, that door should close. It's not closing. It's the problem when you show things in the middle of game development. So we've got doors all over the place that do all kinds of different things. Some of them can control themselves. And now I've just been seen by an alarm. That one over there, the camera. It actually flashes for a few minutes and shows you. I mean, the thing is, at the moment, there's a lot of polish to do on this. There's a lot of work to do before it's in a state where gamers can take it and criticize it. You know, we're very critical of it right now, but we're trying to get the base mechanics in the game. Oh, stuck. Now, in terms of the parkour itself, so that's the that's the basic hacking system. There's a lot more to it, and it will form a lot of the puzzles in the game. It will form. There's all kinds of scenarios that we can put together for it to be fun. One of the things I keep talking about is you may want to lure a guard into a lift and then send that lift to the top floor of the building or something, or into the basement, open it up again and let them, you know, lock them out of the lift or something. You can do all that. You can open, close, lock doors. You can send lifts to different floors. I've done a lot of work on that. It's actually in the office scene, which I'll show you again. No, the sound effects are definitely not released sound effects. In fact, the only sound effects that so far in the game that are going to be released are the footsteps, or some of the footsteps rather. There's still a lot of work and polish to do. So yeah, we've got a lift here, and this lift, I haven't tried it for a while, so hopefully it still works. This lift allows you to go to any of the floors on the game, but what will happen is there will be some kind of puzzle that stops you from going to the top floor immediately. When you maybe get into this room over here, let's have a look. Alright, so this is a security room. It's going to have lots of terminals in it. When you've navigated to that room via the level, it's quite a carefully designed process. It doesn't look at the moment, it's a bit chaotic, but eventually it will. Everything will have a door, and everything will have a different security level, and there'll be a lot of design involved in that. You might open the unlock the lift from here, or it may be another lift that takes you to the top floor. Get to the top floor, and then there's a server room that you need to hack something in there, etc. Again, I've worked all this out, but I don't want to go into too much detail, hence why I'm being quite vague with it at the moment. But let's show you some of the parkour stuff. Right. I give myself 100 hacking skill to start off with. Now, if you look in the bottom right, my adrenaline is going down, and now I just run out of breath. That means I can't run, I can't jump, can't do anything. It's just you are knackered, basically. So it's a nice little feature and mechanic that's in there to kind of make people continue parkouring. Do you see it goes up to 50 at the moment? As I do parkour moves, if you look at it now on the right, they're going up as I do moves. So we've got ledge grabs, we've got wall runs. Ignore the model, by the way. We're in the middle of playing with things. So we've got... see that? You know it. I'm going to turn the... Now you've seen the adrenaline, I'm going to turn the adrenaline off so I don't run out of breath while I'm running around. I mean, this is going to be obviously quite a large area, but there's a number of ways for you to get to that building from the level start. There's going to be a number of routes that you can take. So there's a lot of space at the moment, and as you can see, there's a lot of flashing with the lights because we haven't done the light baking or anything yet. This is the problem with development. I'm trying to keep everyone. I'm trying to gain interest and momentum, but the problem is that you might get a lot. We're going to get a lot of questions because there's so much in the game as it stands, and none of it is totally finished. And it will get finished. It's just that there's so many things to concentrate. I've got to. A lot of the time I'm getting distracted by helping artists out. A lot of the time I'm spending time doing a lot of research, figuring out how to do the AI, for example. I had to figure out how to do that Dijkstra's algorithm thing, or what was appropriate for it, etc. We've got a set of stairs here, for example, that at the moment you can go up, but I mean, the scale might be a bit wrong with them at the moment, or something like that. There's a lot of different ways to get into the level. And the thing is, you're not going to be able to run around it like you can now, because when you run, there's going to be AI around, there's going to be bots and guards and all kinds of other stuff. Sambo16, is there any way to fund this game, or any plans of a Kickstarter? Yes, there is. In terms of plans for a Kickstarter, no. We do want to do one, but we've not planned it yet. I say that because Kickstarters are not easy to set up if you want to do it seriously. This is why we're putting a demo together. This is why we're putting a lot of mechanics into the game first before we go anywhere near a Kickstarter. Excuse me. Sorry about that, people. I'm just going to quickly show you some of the other mechanics for the parkour. So I can actually get up buildings by running like that. This is just going to be a little secret area, probably. Not so secret because I keep telling people about it online. Again, another way to get up here. There's going to be lots of little bits like this as we add the detail in. It is possible to get up here. There we go. And it's just going to be a little collectible or something in there. Then there's a fire escape you can get up. And there's a lot of work to put into the animations as well. There's going to be run animations. There's going to be a lot of blending, a lot of IK work when it comes to like ledge grabbing and wall running and stuff. We need to detect surfaces. So you might get onto the second floor by going up the escape route. Escape route. I've been watching too many American things recently. Route. This is that room that I was talking about before, the security room. And then we've also got a vent system, which any of you Deus Ex fans will realise it's a trope in games these days. I mean, trope in any kind of game with multiple entrances. I'm prone at the moment. You can't really tell that because it sounds like I'm walking. Again, that's a bit of an issue at the moment. I'll show you the much more elaborate packing, much more elaborate lift system. Again, bugs all over the place. There's a lift's not centered properly. But now, call it to the floor. Again, these aren't production sounds or anything like that. So we can now again, there's no persistence in the hacking, so you can't see all of the connections and the hacks that I've already opened. That will be a lot more. I'm working on that at the moment, actually. So, right, so I want to go. Can't do that. I've taken off the final waypoint for the top floor. because I was going to move it to another lift, so that's why it's there. But anyway, I'm now going down in the lift. You see the doors all open, and we're now on the ground floor. This is the lobby where we were before. But you send, there's little vents all over the place. These have all been designed so you can do, you know, multiple different... You can get into the level multiple different ways. Loads of light leaking and stuff. It's a prototype, you know, at the end of the day, or it's a... We're in production, but it's still very much lots to do. Yeah, so as Rich just said, you can follow us if you fancy. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot I could talk about this all day, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna call it a day here. I believe if you again, I've not been watching the stream, but you might see the glasses above me. I've been told to mention them. I believe next week we're going to be giving a pair of them away, an exclusive or a new colour of them, which is the orange ones, and they are Gunner Intercept glasses, gamer glasses. I don't know much more about it than that, I'm afraid. So tune in next week. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more. If you guys have got any questions about the game or anything else like that, there's a lot of work in game dev. It takes a certain kind of person to stick with it. I have spoken to hundreds, literally hundreds of people who've wanted to join the team. I say 100, maybe just over 100. Sorry, not hundreds. And I mean, I've still got all the emails and stuff from them, and they've said, "Oh, I want to be a concept artist, or I want to be a modeler." And you explain to them what it is, and I'm already quite open about it on our website. But it's at that point they realise there's so much work involved in this. I'm not sure I can fit it in with a day job as well as doing this on a night time. You know, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to commit to game dev, I think. But personally for me, it's more rewarding than anything else. Just going to read a few of the comments in the chat channel again. Mythalaw has said it's a very bad idea to try Kickstarter without a playable demo. As I said before, yes, not just playable demos. There's videos to do. There's promotional materials. There's promoting your actual Kickstarter as well. Going on shows like this and promoting it. All kinds of stuff. You know, it's hard to do sometimes if you're not. You kind of just have to let go and say shameless self-promotion is the way to go. You know, otherwise you're not going to get anywhere. You might get sales. I mean, even if you publish with somebody, you're going to get some sales. But the more you put in, the more sales you'll get. You know, I mean, to some of us, it's not all about sales. As much as I want, you know, I'd love to do this as a living. I'm not expecting it. I'm not expecting this game to release and me be a millionaire and be able to afford to do this for the rest of my life. You know, unfortunately, I'm not in a position to be able to make do, if you know what I mean, with an income from game dev, and any of the projects we do are going to be long term. So yeah, what else have we got here? We have the game looks cool, looking forward to trying it. Thank you very much. I hope people enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed making it. Been a lot of hard times, but I still want people to play it, you know. I still want people to get on it. I can't even say that. Davros, XBM Davros. You guys are amazing inspiration to someone who wants to be a game designer. That's basically what the Datamine is all about. It's about it's about therapy for us game devs. We have people on the show, if you've not watched before, from all walks of life. We had someone from Yuki on a while back. It was before I actually got involved. We've also had someone from Team 17 talking about indie publishing. The Yuki stuff is I can't remember what Yuki stands for off the top of my head, but it was they basically help game companies, big and small. It's kind of like a trade. It's trade body, that's the name of it, sorry. It's a trade body for the game industry, and it's recently formed, non-profit organisation, I believe, and they are helping indies with things like tax breaks and the financial, the boring stuff. But unfortunately, that's stuff that I've had to get involved in quite a lot as well. I've already got a business, so I kind of run this through that business at the moment. But if you don't have a business, you have to form something, because you can't just, create. You can't create a game with intellectual property involved and have it, and run as a sole trader. Really, it does work. You can do it, but you need a bit of protection and a bit of legalese behind you. Essentially, everyone will eventually tell you to form a limited company or some kind of company. Anyway, yeah, it is a labour of love, and it does require a lot of passion. Last Fatality 09. There's a lot of more. I've went through one in the last couple of weeks. It may have been reflected in last week's show. I had a lot of oh my god, am I clever enough to do this? Have I got the I mean, I've been a developer for 16 years, but some of the problems that I've faced in game dev have been mind-boggling, and I love it. But at the same time, it makes you think, God, how many more of these have I got coming up? How many more times am I going to have to go back to Google and spend a week or two researching and figuring things out? Because I'm not the most academic of people in the world. I'm a doer rather than a thinker, if that makes sense. I'm not. I'd rather do something and learn from doing it than be taught by somebody. Not everyone's like that. Again, I've got a lot of friends that are very academic and prefer being taught and take information in better that way. I don't personally. And it takes a lot of dedication, and there'll be a lot more. And I'm sure that we haven't even got to the promotion, marketing, publishing side of it. As an indie, you have to do it all yourself. And if you can get people on your team that are willing to get involved with that kind of thing, great. But generally, you won't, unless it's a friend. I think generally people who get involved in the team are very concerned with their own part of it. Modelers want to model, concept artists want to concept art, etc., which is fine. There's nothing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Just be aware of that. That when people, even if you try to get people who are going to invest, it's your project at the end of the day. If you are independent, even if you're paying somebody, it's still your project, and you're paying them for their services. It's quite hard to say it without sounding cold, and I don't mean it to come across like that. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. Anyway, for fear of repeating myself and going over the same material, I'll probably close the show down now. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry for the noise in the background with my aircon, and I said sorry that Josie and Danny aren't here this week. Josie fully intended to, but she's told me she couldn't. Next week, hopefully, we'll have a guest. We haven't confirmed anyone yet, but we will have a guest, hopefully. And Danny and Josie will be back, so it'll be a lot louder, a lot more opinions rather than just mine. If you are interested in Subnet, you can follow me on Twitter, which is @19ninjas. It should be on my stream, but it's unfortunately covered by my photograph. I'm not technical enough to understand how to get it to show. And if you're interested in MMOBuff and these kind of shows, MMOBuff does shows of all types, mainly focused on online gaming, online communities, things like that. There's a lot of different shows. I don't know them off the top of my head. I actually made notes of them last week. But you can follow MMOBuff on Twitter or on Facebook, also on YouTube and on Twitch, which you're probably on right now. Oh no, I bought the aircon yesterday, Zumba Pup. Last week was a lesson, and I couldn't do it again. I'm sweating now, and it's on. I'm getting a sore throat and everything. Ooh, woe is me. I've got aircon. Well, I only got it because this room is ridiculous. It gets so hot, unbelievably hot. A few more things have come up in chat. I'm just going to have a look at before I close down. You see, my Mythalaw, yeah, we don't do any game dev really. I just did stuff in my spare time. That's how it started with me. It was just me and a friend talking on Skype. You know, it was a hobby that got really out of hand, and that's a thing I keep saying. But it's true. It was a hobby that got out of hand, and people started taking notice of the game. People started liking it. I got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of criticism in terms of this is what you need to do. This is what I mean. A lot of the stuff I've chased myself, and I've been self-motivated, but yeah, it's you kind of have to I don't know, you have to make that conscious decision at some point, don't you? Am I going to do this full time? Am I going to do this part time? Have I got time to do it part time? Can I do it on my own? If not, who can I do it with? You know, finding people. I've talked about that on previous shows is a big thing as well. Right. Anyway, guys, you've been very very friendly again. Thank you very much. Sorry about some rambling. I know I've been a bit more rambly this week, but I didn't have as many notes to make. I actually thought we were going to have a bit more of a topic and go a bit more, you know, bounce off people this week. So I wasn't as prepared. But yeah, hopefully the game interests you. Hopefully you might follow us, get interested in it, come along. We're on Twitter and Facebook and everything else as well, but just look on our website. It's been pasted in chat plenty of times, 19stoneninjas.com. And obviously there's lots of other MMO Buff shows, so check out the MMO Buff website, follow them on Twitter, and we're gone. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'll catch you later.